Hi everybody, and welcome back to Trudge, a journey to being recovered. My name is Dexter. I am a recovered drug addict alcoholic, and I hope everyone's doing well. And I would like to piggyback what we did last week, finishing up the chapter called Into Action and moving through now the very last step. This is going to be step 12. It's chapter 7. It is a whole chapter that is devoted to working with others. To this point, the book has really dropped in hints and slammed home at other times and emphasized and re-emphasized how important it is to live altruistically and to give back what was so freely given to us. And a big part of that is by helping others, especially in the 12-step capacity. So this entire chapter is devoted to that, what that looks like, how we go about doing those things. And so before we get started, let's open up the program like we open all of them up with our third step prayer. For those of you who care to join, this is going to be on page 63. For those of you who are just joining the program, it's highlighted pink. Pink stands for prayers. And let's go ahead and invite God in and get right to work, shall we? God, I offer myself to Thee, to build with me and to do with me as Thou wilt. Relieve me of the bondage of self, that I may better do Thy will. Take away my difficulties, that victory over them may bear witness to those I would help of Thy power, Thy love, and Thy way of life. May I do Thy will always. All right, everybody, we are on page 89. Okay, this is chapter 7, Working with Others. I have the words working with others, I have them highlighted green. It tells you that's the action here. Okay, to staying recovered, that's a big part of staying recovered is working with other people. When Bill was, about to go back out, he made some phone calls and ended up finding Bob. When the two of them got together and realized that they had, the same malady, but they also had the same solution. They figured out that solution was, finding another alcoholic, and that's how they met Bill D. And, over time the fellowship grew, and this is what they were doing. They were out there working with other alcoholics. So, in my estimation, this entire chapter could be highlighted green. It's just the simple directions on what you do in reference to working with somebody who's new. Taking me through the way my sponsor did, the way my grant sponsor took her through. We just kind of follow this patterns. The 8 conditions that are highlighted, also orange in the chapter. There is a solution. Also speak to this, but this goes really, really more in depth. So right off the bat, the very first paragraph or sentence, 2 sentences I should say, are going to be highlighted orange. It says, practical experience shows that nothing will so much ensure immunity from drinking as intensive work with other alcoholics. It works when other activities fail. That whole thing's going to be highlighted orange. So the key words there are nothing. Nothing's going to work better than this. It doesn't say run off and go to a meeting or go to a bunch of series of meetings. That could be helpful to you, but nothing's going to work better for immunity from drinking, immunity from using drugs, from acting out sexually, whatever it is, than working with somebody else who's in that same boat as you, the same struggles, okay? The word intensive is going to be circled. Think about intensive care in a hospital, okay? You're like more important if you're in ICU than somebody who's just in a regular room. This is what we're talking about, giving that extra effort, okay? That one-on-one, super, that care, okay? Working with another person in that capacity. It's going to work when other activities fail. When I'm struggling, when I'm feeling a certain kind of way about something, when I'm having doubts, when I'm angry, any of those defects of character that have plagued me my entire life, I try to get out of myself and look for what I can do for somebody else. It takes the focus off me, and I found more times than not it works. A big part of my program took a huge leap, a huge jump when I started teaching this work to another person, and I've been sponsoring people in this capacity ever since, and I have found that nothing really has kept me recovered more than doing this. Going to meetings is great. Prayer, meditation, absolutely huge parts of the deal. There's no question about it. No one's discounting those things, but nothing like sitting with another person and teaching this work has helped me arrest this disease and keep it arrested, and keep that feeling of recovered, that fourth dimension that the book talks about and its promises, like working with another addict or an alcoholic. It says this is our 12th suggestion. This is our 12th step. For me, it's not a suggestion. If you're at this point, you've worked 11 steps. These are, just directions. This instructions, but 12th suggestion nonetheless, because there's nothing that you have to do here unless you want to. Carry this message to other alcoholics. It's going to be highlighted green. There's just going to be so many actions in this step, okay? It tells you, carry this message to people who need it, okay? You can help when no one else can, and you can because you can relate to these people. I can relate to I can relate to people out there with all kinds of struggles, whether it be infidelity, sex addiction, drug addiction, gambling, stealing, lying, cheating. I've gone through the gambit, okay? And that's why you are going to be able to help when no one else can. I can help another alcoholic more than a therapist can, more than likely, because I speak that person's same language. It says you can secure their confidence when others fail. Remember, they are very ill, just like you once were. This is going to be highlighted yellow. Yellow stands for promises, okay? It says life will take on new meaning. To watch people recover, to see them help others, to watch loneliness vanish, to see a fellowship grow up about you, to have a host of friends. This is an experience you must not miss. The word must is going to be circled. We know you will not want to miss it. Frequent contact with newcomers and each other is the bright spot of our lives. So those are some promises that have happened to me, and I believe they will happen to anyone that does this work. There's nothing like watching this program work for someone else. When it was working for me, at times I still was like, I'm not really sure if this is really what's happening. It's like you still have your doubts. But then I started to teach this to the first person I ever took through, and I watched this man's life absolutely change. It was unbelievable. And it's not something that I would ever want to miss out on. Frequent contact with newcomers. My sponsor taught me, that when you're in a meeting and they're asking, who's here for the first time, who's in their first 30, your ears need to be perking up. You need to be looking around and identifying these people. These are the people that you want to go help. It says frequent contact with newcomers and with each other is the bright spot of our lives. We're here to help each other. This is not a tape program and then disappear out the back door. This is about what can we do to help the next person so we can help ourselves out, stay recovered. Perhaps you are not acquainted with any drinkers who want to recover. You can easily find some by asking a few doctors, ministers, priests, or hospitals. They will only be too glad to assist you. Don't start out as an evangelist or a reformer. I kind of went through a little stage there because I was kind of on fire for this thing. But unfortunately, a lot of prejudice does exist. You will be handicapped if you arouse it. For me, I also kind of went to some alternative learning schools where kids struggle with drugs and have felonies, and there's rehabs and detoxes you can go to as well. If you're looking for people outside of just the rooms to help, there's opportunities to help people. There's people out there that need help. If you want to help somebody, you shouldn't really have that hard of a time finding somebody. Believe me, if you really want it, if you're asking God, what can I do for the man or woman who's still sick, those opportunities will arise. Ministers and doctors are competent, and you can learn much from them if you wish, but it happens that because of your own drinking experience, you can be uniquely useful to other alcoholics. Your own experience is the most powerful tool that you have. With it, you can avert death for other people. You see, and this is where the 12-step story, this is where your war story comes in handy when it comes time to work with somebody new. If we're in the rooms, if they're in the room already, there's no need to go talk about glorifying your drinking experiences in your war story. We've got them. They're in the room. That's where it's time to lay on the solution, lay on how good life is, and lay it on thick. We don't need to be wasting time talking about what we did and how much fun it was and how drunk we got and identifying with the person. They're already in the room. More than likely. That's, remember, the book says we are not going to be able to bring to our consciousness with sufficient force what happened a day, a week, or a month ago when it comes time to drink. So there's no need to share our war stories with a newcomer in a meeting, because if they're going to go out, they're going to go out. My story's not going to keep them clean and sober. Neither is yours, okay? So, it says, so cooperate, never criticize. To be helpful is our only aim. So I have that highlighted orange. And the key part there is to be helpful is our only aim. Okay, we just want to be of help. I'm doing this because I just want to help somebody the way I got the help, so I could watch somebody else's life change, so I can maybe reach out to touch somebody a million miles from here and have their life change. That's it. No fees to pay, no access to grind. I want no accolades. I'm trying to get famous. This is simply just coming from the heart. My life has gotten better because somebody helped me in this altruistic manner, and so I just choosing to give it away the same way that the book has taught me to. Okay? Page 90. When you discover a prospect for Alcoholics Anonymous, or you could call it sponsee, however you want to call it. This book is a little bit older and times have changed a little bit. People call them sponsees now. Find out all you can about him. I have find out all you can about him highlighted green. Okay, that's an important action. You want to know as much about this person as possible. Can't help you if I don't know anything about you. Okay, are you a real alcoholic? Do we have anything in common? Why are you here? Are you forced to be here? Is this something you really want to do? Are you trying to save your marriage? Where are you from? Find out as much as you can. Before I start working with people, we sit down and we hash it out. We lay it out, and I get to know you, you get to know me, and we see if it's a good fit. Not every shoe fits. Some people are just like, yeah, just go get a sponsor. I tend to disagree with that. For me, it was get a sponsor who's got something that you want. Get a sponsor that, has worked the 12 steps if that's what you want to do. If you want a sponsor just to teach you how to, not drink, you can get that too. I believe that for me, at least this is for me, this is not coming from the book, okay? So I'm not going to stay on my soapbox long, okay? I believe that there's a good fit for everyone. And sometimes it's hard to find, sometimes it's not. I knew when I was ready, the teacher was already there. That's just been my experience. If he does not want to stop drinking, do not waste time trying to persuade him. You may spoil a later opportunity. Hey man, if he's not interested or she's not interested, next. Because there's someone out there that is interested. Don't push, okay? You're going to spoil it later if he does ever get to that point where he wants help. Okay, don't burn that bridge. Just thanks, no problem. This advice is given for his family also. They should be patient, realizing they are dealing with a sick person. Not always easy. Families have been through hell. Wives have been through hell. There's a chapter called Two Wives. We'll get to that. It's not easy for people to be patient with somebody who's got years of dereliction and degradation behind them. People get hurt. Alcoholism doesn't just affect the person in question. It affects family, friends, every person. It's like a tsunami. Anything that comes within that person's path, okay? If there's any indication that he wants to stop, have a good talk with the person most interested in him, usually his wife. See, this is where it gets tricky for me. Times have changed. 1939, stuff like this happened all the time. Me, I'm not talking to anyone's wife. That's just me. I don't believe there's any need to go middleman, third person party. I want to talk to the person who is sick. Do you want to get well or don't you? In some instances, I believe it's okay to do this if I have a relationship with his brother, sister, wife, family member, but I try not to it gets convoluted. I mean, guys, it's 2014. You know how things are. It's a lot different than 1939. I'm not discounting what the book is saying. My personal beliefs is I want to go directly with the person in question, okay? It says, get an idea of his behavior, his problems, his background, the seriousness of his condition, and his religious learnings. This could all be highlighted green, okay? If you need this information to put yourself in his place to see how you would like to approach him if the tables were turned. It makes sense to just get as much information from this prospect, this potential sponsee, as possible. Sometimes it's wise to wait till he goes on a binge. The family may object to this, but unless he is in a dangerous physical condition, it is better to risk it. Don't deal with him when he is very drunk, unless it is ugly and the family needs your help. I don't get involved with people who are under the influence. The book is very clear that sometimes a definitive hospital stay, rehab, or detox is necessary so you can reach this person. I just try not to get involved in any of those kind of scrapes, family matters, drunken stupors. Unless it's warranted, and the book tells you, unless it's ugly and the family needs your help or the friend needs your help, it tells you wait for the end of the spree, or at least for a lucid interval. Me, I just try to wait until that person is sober. You know, you can't reach somebody who is under the influence. Not the way that's necessary for this stuff to go in, okay? Then let his family or friend ask him if he wants to quit for good, and if he would go to any extreme to do so. I have go to any extreme to do so highlighted in orange. Again, just another little sprinkling the book drops in there of being willing to go to any lengths. You know, you either want it or you don't. Are you willing to go to any lengths? I was willing to go to any lengths to get drugs, to get alcohol. I was. I mean, the things that I did to feed the desire, to fill my need, to stroke my selfish and self-centeredness. I mean, I could do this. Are you kidding? It's just unbelievable. I could tell you guys a million different stories. You would be like, what? You did what? You know, but willing to go to any lengths to the bottom line to do so, okay? If he says yes, then his attention should be drawn to you as a person has recovered, okay? The word recovered circled, all right? So they want you to tell this person, I've recovered from this disease. And you can too. And this is how. Okay? We're not telling this person that all you have to do is just not drink today. It's one day at a time deal. I'm recovered and this is why. You know, and be confident about that. You know, this is what recovered alcoholism is about. Okay? We want to teach this person that his disease can be arrested and stay arrested. Oh my God, what a miracle, what a gift to be able to hear that there's hope. That you don't have to wake up and slay this dragon every day. You know, hear things like sometimes the dragon wins. That relapse is part of this program, is sometimes necessary. No, it's not. No, it's not. There's no part of this book that talks about relapse as being a necessary component to getting well. It doesn't have to be that way. Tell this person I'm recovered, and this is why. And this is why I introduced myself as a recovered alcoholic. Period. It tells you so. This is why, okay? To show other people how we have gotten well is one of the main objects of this book. You should describe to him as one of a fellowship who, as part of their own recovery, will try to help others and who will be glad to talk to him if he cares to see you. I will talk to anybody that wants help. I don't care how busy I am. There were people just as busy as I am now that stopped to talk to me. It's just how it works. If I don't give back what was so freely given to me, I am stealing it. And I don't steal. So, if he does not want to see you, that's fine. No problem. Never force yourself upon him. The word never is underlined. Don't push. You know what I mean? People who are beaten, who are wanting help, who are hopeless, dude, when they want the help, they'll come to you. We're not forcing this down people's throat. That's why another personal belief, you know, capturing people and taking them to hospitals against their will sometimes is, you know, very beneficial. More times than not, it's not. Because no one's going to get well until they're good and ready. You know, interventions, I'm mixed on stuff like that. You know, forcing people. I mean, sometimes there's definitely a push that person needs, but the bottom line is if that person is not done, they're not done. You couldn't have told me anything. I wasn't done. I wasn't ready to hear it. I wasn't willing. I wasn't desperate enough. I wasn't beaten enough. This is only going to work for people when they're ready. That's been my experience. I believe that's been the experience of a lot of people who have come in and out of these 12-step programs over the decades, okay? So, neither should the family hysterically plead with him to do anything. So it's just telling you that we're not going to beg this guy. You know, it might be heartbreaking to watch this guy go down, but we're not going to beg with this guy to do anything, nor should they tell him much about you. Nobody should be telling my story but me. That's just, you know, that's how I believe, okay? They should wait for the end of his next drinking bout. Again, trying to catch this guy at a lucid interval or sober, if he even has a sober moment. You might place this book where he can see it in the interval. Here, no specific rule can be given. So they're telling you that there's no concrete rule around this, okay? The family's got to decide these things. But urge them not to be over anxious, for that might spoil matters. So, you know, you might see a little glimmer of hope. You don't want to attack and just smother this person with this sobriety, and you can get clean and forcing him to do or him or her to do anything. Again, that it could ruin things, okay? This whole thing, green, this is just all action. It's very, very, very clear on how we go about getting this person some help. Usually the family should not try to tell your story again, man. My story is my own. No one else should be telling it. When possible, and I have this highlighted green, and I really believe this, okay? It says, avoid meeting a man through his family. When it's possible, just avoid it. You know, you got your hands full enough just with the person. The family, it's a lot. It can be, you know, at the ends of our runs here, we have our hands full. The last thing we need to do is take on the family as well. Okay, sometimes it's necessary. I'm not saying it's not. I avoid it if I can. I've had to get involved in that capacity. Sometimes it's ended fine. A lot of times it has not. Okay, approach through a doctor or an institution is a better bet. You know, there's plenty of places to find sick people, man. There's someone where you are right now. There's someone less than a mile away from you that is dying a slow death at the hands of drugs, alcohol, gambling, sex addiction, or some kind of dereliction, some kind of behavior that they cannot stop. Less than a mile. There's people everywhere who are struggling. It's not hard to find them if we're asking our higher power to help us, show us the way of, you know, what can I do for the man or woman who is still sick in our morning meditations and our prayers, okay? If your man needs hospitalization, he should have it, okay? But not forcibly unless he is violent. Not forcibly is going to be underlined. It's telling you, man, we're not dragging anyone to hospitals. You know, if he's violent, if this guy's shooting up the place or beating up women, or dude, you know, Bill D was smacking around nurses and stuff, he had to be restrained. I mean, look, I'm all for that then, okay? But it's very clear on when we do that and when we don't. Let the doctor, if he will, tell him he has something in the way of a solution, okay? It's almost like when, you know, Bill and Bob, you know, visited Bill D in the hospital. It's like the first time Bill D had heard anything of there being a possible solution to alcoholism, okay? The doctor nowadays can do the same. When the man is better, the doctor might suggest a visit from you. I mean, I can't think of a better idea. You see what they were doing in the late 1930s? It's no different now. Okay, we can do the same solution, the same steps that these men, our forefathers, took. We can take these same steps and help people who are sick. Though you have talked with the family, leave them out of the first discussion. Again, I just don't get involved with the family unless I have to. Under these conditions, your prospect will see he is under no pressure. Okay, he doesn't feel like you're teaming up with his girlfriend or his family, and you know, some people can feel like they're being ganged up on, you know, and then resentment stems out, and then they get, you know, real standoffish. We're trying to avoid these things, okay? He will feel he can deal with you without being nagged by his family. Call on him while he is still jittery. He may be more receptive when depressed. See your man alone if possible. Okay, definitely don't want to go with more than one other person if you can, you know. You don't want to bring a whole group. That can be overwhelming. That's like borderline scary, okay? I mean, I know how I felt when I went to my first meeting. Imagine if like a whole meeting came to you. You know, definitely don't want to do that. At first, engage in general conversation. After a while, turn the talk to some phase of drinking. This is where the war story, this is where your war story, this is where your drinking history, this is where your drinking career, your drugging career, this is where it comes in handy. Tell him about your drinking habits, your symptoms. Again, this whole thing can be highlighted green. Action, action, action. Do this, do this. This is what you do. This is what you don't do. Very clear, okay? And tell him about your drinking habits, symptoms, and experiences to encourage him to speak of himself. Again, we want to know as much about this guy as possible. If he wishes to talk, let him do so. You will thus get a better idea of how you ought to proceed. You know, everyone's going to be different, you know, for sure. If he is not communicative, give him a sketch of your drinking career up to the time that you quit. But say nothing for the moment of how you quit. Okay, it's almost like you just want to give him enough so he's curious. I mean, you're telling this guy your stories, and you're just like him, if not worse, and you're standing in front of him, and he's seeing you well. You know, like, you're telling this man you're recovered, and he's like, whoa, you know, he's going to want to know how you got that way. If he is in a serious mood, dwell on the troubles liquor has caused you. Being careful not to moralize or lecture. This is a big one. You don't want to stand there and lecture this guy. You just want to have a conversation with him or her. You know, you want to let them know that you care, that you're genuine. That, again, the 8 conditions come in really handy here. No fees, no actions to grind. I'm not looking to take anything from you, get anything from you. We just want to be helpful to you, bro. If you want it. And if you don't, that's cool too. You know, thanks for listening. We're out. You know, that's how we want to go about this. No forcing, no poking, no prodding. You know what I mean? This is not an interrogation or really, it's not even an interview. Dude, we're just talking. Keep the manner calm. Keep the manner light. Okay? If his mood is light, tell him humorous stories of your escapades. This is where the 12-step tour, you know, the 12-step story is great. You know, tell him how, you know, I mean, I used to tell a guy I fell off this bar stool and I woke up in this subway station, no shoes, no wallet, and didn't know what happened. Do it then. You know what I mean? Get him to tell some of his. So now we're going back and forth. Just like Bill and Bob did, you know? Can you imagine being a fly on the room in the wall of that meeting, you know? Bob is sitting there listening to Bill. His eyes must have been the size of silver dollars, just like listening to actually hearing somebody understand what he's been going through. Same thing. Imagine being on fly on the wall in the hospital room where Bill D was. You know, and he's listening to Bill and Bob 12-step him. And he's just like, oh my God, you guys know what I'm talking about. This is where we're trying to get to, okay? When he sees you know all about drinking game, commence to describe yourself as an alcoholic. Tell him how baffled you were, how you finally learned that you were sick. This is going to be highlighted in orange to the end of the paragraph. It says, give him an account of the struggles you made to stop. Show him the mental twist which leads to the first drink of a spree. We suggest you do this as we have done in the chapter on alcoholism. So more about alcoholism, brushing up on this chapter before working with somebody as well. So it's just paramount importance, okay? If he's an alcoholic, especially if he's a real alcoholic, and you know, obviously there's only one way for him that to happen is for him to find out, but more times than not, you'll be able to get that sense. You know, he'll take his own first step, but you'll be able to sense based on what he's saying. The words control, choice, these are things that you need to be asking, okay? He will understand you at once. More times than not, a dog can smell another dog. More times than not, a cat can sniff out another cat. More times than not, a real alcoholic, real drug addict knows another one. I mean, it's not hard to... We bombed, okay? He will match your mental inconsistencies with some of his own. You know, and so now, this man or woman is singing. We're speaking the same language here. You know, well, this guy really knows what I'm going through. This guy sounds like he's been through worse. You know, maybe there's something to this, you know. The curiosity, you know, is, I mean, we're kind of fishing. You know, we got the lure out, we're throwing it out there, and we're just waiting for this person to bite. And you'll know when this person is ready. Believe me, they will start asking questions, and then you get them and start bringing them in. And this is where we can give them the help that they need, okay? It says if you are satisfied that he is a real alcoholic, and that's you're just going to have to discern. But more times than not, recovered alcoholics, we know what a real alcoholic looks like. We know what a real drug addict looks like, whether it's the physical aspects, what they're saying, their mannerisms. Dude, we know. Why? Because we've lived it. Because that's who we were. Okay? Begin to dwell on the hopeless feature of the malady. Remember, that spiritual malady, page 52, is the first point of interest that we talked about. The word malady is going to be highlighted orange. Show him from your own experience how the queer mental condition surrounding the first drink prevents normal functioning of the willpower. Okay? We're showing him how that we have no defense against that first one. Don't, at this stage, refer to this book. Okay? I just keep putting big old green stars all over this page. I'm not even going to bother highlighting it all green. Just big green star means this is all actions, all important, okay? Do this, don't do this, okay? Unless he has seen it and wishes to discuss it. So, you know, if he's seen it and wants to talk about it, that's cool. Me, I carry my book to meetings. I think it's a lost art in the grand scheme of the program of Alcoholics Anonymous. More times than not, people know them about the book. I mean, if they want to talk about it, there it is, because I always have it. That's just, if I don't have it there, I got it on my phone. I mean, it goes with me wherever I go. I always have my big book, and I'm ready to use it at any point. It's on the table. I'm willing to reference it. That's who just I'm about. More times than not, a lot of the people that I've worked with know that about me, have seen that. If they want to talk about it, let's talk about it at that point. But if not, we don't. It says, and be careful not to brand him as an alcoholic. See, there it is. We don't want to tell this guy he's an alcoholic if he's not. He's got to find that out on his own. He needs to take his own first step, okay? Let him draw his own conclusion. You see how we're taking everything that we've learned from this point, from there is a solution as bits and pieces, from more about alcoholism, and it's just all coming together now in working with others. These actions, these steps, very, very important. If he sticks to the idea that he can still control his drinking, tell him, man, maybe you can. Maybe you can if you're not too alcoholic. I knew I couldn't. It took me a long time to figure that out, but maybe you can, okay? We're not here to convince him of anything. This is for him to find out. However, and this is very important, it's going to be highlighted orange, it says, but insist that if he is severely afflicted, severely, okay, is the key word. Let's go ahead and circle the word severely. There may be little chance that he can recover by himself. And, that would be a good moment to let him know that, yeah, I used to think that too, man. And I tried. And I've told you guys some stories over the past months that I've been doing this, how, 13 months of this kind of sobriety, 4.5 months of this kind of substance, and I always went back. Okay, for me, like Dr. Bob, a spiritual experience, I conceded, was absolutely necessary for me, or I was on a run again after 11 years. Continue to speak of alcoholism as an illness, because it is. Okay, let's go ahead and circle that word illness. A fatal malady, the malady, that word keeps popping up, man. All right, it's going to be highlighted orange every time you see it. Talk about the conditions of body and mind which accompany it. Body and mind are going to be highlighted orange, dropping in a little bit of the doctor's opinion now, the two-part disease, mind versus body. Keep his attention focused mainly on your personal experience. Explain that many are doomed who never realize their predicament. A lot of people that don't even realize alcoholism and what it entails, how it, is invested in their lives and not even knowing it, they're done. They're doomed, okay? Doctors are rightly to loathe to tell alcoholic patients the whole story unless it will serve some good purpose. But you may talk to him about the hopelessness of alcoholism because you offer a solution, okay? The word solution is going to be highlighted orange. You will soon have your friend admitting he has many, if not all, the traits of an alcoholic. If his own doctor is willing to tell him that he is alcoholic, so much the better. Let the doctor do it. I'm not a medical professional. I might have thoughts on it, but that's not for me to decide. Even though your protege may not have entirely admitted his condition, he has become very curious to know. And I have the words curious to know underlined because, man, when you start seeing somebody who is just as bad as you, especially if you ran with them, or knew of them, we have these, famous people out in the streets, you know what I mean? Like the sellers, whatever, the dealers, this guy, everyone knows this guy who was always drunk, high, whatever. You see that guy get well, you're going to be curious to know how he got well, all right? Let him ask you that question, if he will. This next sentence that's highlighted green, that's in italics, it says, tell him exactly what happened to you. Exactly. The word exactly is going to be circled. I want to know exactly what happened to you. When I did my introduction for TRUDGE, A Journey to Being Recovered, I told you guys exactly what happened to me. Okay? At that point, if anybody is watching this, is interested, you can go on to the next video. I mean, this is what happened, man. I put together 11 years of just being abstinent, and I wanted to die at the end of it. And I almost went out. It wasn't until I recognized that I hadn't ever really worked a step, to the best of my ability, that Was I willing to go anywhere? And then that solution came because I was willing to go to any lengths and I got well. Okay? Stress the spiritual feature freely. Spiritual feature highlighted orange. Okay? So if he asks that question, you got to be ready. Okay? We're hoping that he does or she does, because we're out there, we got the bait, we got the lure. Once they ask that question, we got the hook in them and we're reeling them in. Now it's time to lay on the good shit. Lay it on and lay it on thick. This is what happened to me. This is how I got well. Lay it on. If the man be agnostic or atheist, make it emphatic, and the word emphatic is going to be circled. Emphatic, that he does not have to agree with your conception of God. This is so important. People to forget to do this, and then that person, your protege, or your potential sponsor thinks that he needs to believe the way you believe about God. No, very important. We cannot forget to do this. This could really ruin things, okay? You do not have the same conception of God as I do. It's not necessary. He can choose any conception he likes, provided it makes sense to him. Okay? And that's it. The next, or the rest of this paragraph, I should say, is going to be highlighted orange. It says, the main thing is that he be willing to believe in a power greater than himself and that he live by spiritual principles. Okay? I have the words, the main thing, underlined. The word main, that's circled. The main thing, this is it. The number one thing is that you're going to have to be willing to believe in a power greater than yourself. And you're going to have to live by spiritual principles. So, at this point, we're going to stop. I'm running out of gas, and this is a long chapter. And I want to make sure that I take my time and really go through it well with you guys so you really understand. We might even break it down into 3 parts. This is the point where you are laying the solution on your potential sponsee and you are letting him know of the spiritual feature, okay? Next week we'll piggyback off of that thought and continue on. I can't stress to you how much that, this step gets its own chapter for a reason. In my estimation, the whole thing could be highlighted green. It's just all actions. It tells you exactly what to do. More times than not, when we follow the directions in this book, we have success with working with others. Things are a little bit different than they were in 2014 and 1939. I really try hard not to stray away from the book at all, but some things are just different now. In reference to how we deal with sponsees. The book talks about families and things like that. I don't really go to doctors and hospitals looking for people to work with. I just go to meetings. I have done some rehab work, things like that. A lot of it is discernment. But the bottom line, if you're following the instructions that have preceded this chapter, especially in reference to the pink, about the prayers of asking God to reveal to you other people who are sick and need help, you won't have to look far. That's been my experience, and I believe that's been the experience of millions of other recovered drug addicts and alcoholics throughout history who have been helping other people like me get well. And so that's all for Trudge this week, everybody. I want to thank you all who are watching the program and turning other people onto it who you feel, could benefit from it. The wives of alcoholics out there who are watching it. Hopefully this stuff is helping, you along understand what it is your husbands and your wives are doing. I greatly appreciate all the support that everyone has given me doing this because it makes me want to do it more because there was somebody out there that helped me in my darkest hour. And so I believe that I need to continue doing that in an effort to stay recovered. My life is good. I want it to stay this way. And I know it's only going to stay this way if I give back what was so freely given to me. So that's all. I hope everyone's doing well. Hope your families are doing well. Summer is running out of time. I hope you're enjoying yourselves. I am most definitely trying to enjoy my summer amidst a lot of craziness going on in my life, but it's all good things, all right? And I hope things are good for you too. Until next week, everybody, always review the work, this chapter. I can't tell you enough. If you're not sponsoring by now, or you are sponsoring by now, or you're considering sponsoring by now, whatever the situation is in reference to working with other people, this cannot hurt to go back, reread this stuff, and look it over. It's of paramount importance, and it really can help you save a life. All right? Thanks a lot for watching, everybody. We'll see you next week. Namaste.